my fight fans? We got ourselves a fight night this Saturday. We got ourselves Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Yes, a fight that we've been talking about for quite some time, a fight that we've been talking about for several years, a fight that we all been wanting. Now, is it as hyped as we all thought it would be? Not really. Not really. Now that it's here, it just feels like, it almost feels like it's not even happening. It really wasn't what I thought it would be. And I guess it's just the way Nate Diaz has been now. Later in his career, he's not necessarily all about that whole trash talking and trying to hype up the fight or anything like that. That's not really his style anymore. He's all about like, hey, if you want to see the fight, great. If you don't want to see it, oh well. Jake Paul, himself either. I haven't really heard a whole lot from Jake Paul as well. I haven't really heard a lot about what he's gonna do and how hyped he is for this fight, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, there hasn't been like a whole lot of publicity when it coming to this fight. It's very unfortunate. Definitely not like the Tyron Woodley fights. Tyron Woodley, it felt like it had a lot more publicity, but then again, it was Showtime. Showtime was behind them, so it definitely had a bigger platform and a bigger stage. That is why you got the Nate Diaz, why you got Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fight. Just seems like a little bit more bigger. It seemed like a like a bigger event than this fight, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Here it is. We are now, the wait is almost over. It is this Saturday. You got Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Now, let's talk about the fight. How's it going to go down? Well, Jake Paul is the stronger, and Jake Paul is a little bit more experienced when it comes to boxing. Yes, not fighting, boxing. You see, Jake Paul, he has had more boxing fights. Nate Diaz, unfortunately, has no boxing fights. But he is trained with a lot of professional boxers and is trained a lot of years with a lot of other fighters, and also had a boxing fight style. So it really is, it almost is like a toss-up, I guess, because if Jake Paul can actually be able to get off and be able to show some power and almost stop Nate Diaz in about 4 rounds, somewhere early, because Nate Diaz is notoriously a slow starter. Nate Diaz doesn't really get things going until, like in MMA rounds, until about round 5, round 4, round 4, round 5, maybe even 3. That's when he starts really coming out and he really starts letting go. But so if Nate Diaz can, if Jake Paul can actually, really make Nate Diaz uncomfortable, really land some shots that really makes Nate Diaz like, oh man, I really don't want to get hit by those anymore, then I can see a potential where Jake Paul can actually win this fight, even possibly stop Nate Diaz. But if you let Nate Diaz get comfortable, if you let Nate Diaz use his jab, if you let Nate Diaz mix up some combinations, then Nate Diaz is definitely going to take over the fight. Nate Diaz is definitely going to use it in the long run, where he can actually tire Jake Paul and overwhelm him with shots. Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz likes to throw 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. He goes upstairs to the head. He goes to the body. He goes up and down. He fights just like his brother, and his brother has really great hands, and he definitely overwhelms you. He's not someone with a lot of power, and he's not someone with one punch power, or even he has a whole lot of power on one hand either. He doesn't have any of those. He definitely overwhelms you with punches. He likes to get you in the corner and just unload into the body, into the rib cage, into the head. Use those uppercuts. Use his long arms to where he can make you a little uncomfortable as well. So, yeah, I could definitely see that potentially happen for Nate Diaz. That's how Nate Diaz could definitely win. He has to really survive the early blitzes of Jake Paul. I could see Jake Paul coming in there and almost acting like a Vitor Belfort, where he has to just let it all out, because he knows later on in the fight, Nate Diaz, that's where he's going to be more favored. That's where he's going to be a little bit more at his strongest, is in the later rounds. So he really has to win the beginning of the rounds, and he really has to make it really difficult for Nate Diaz if he wants to win this fight. Nate Diaz literally has to survive the early rounds, and he has to really do something very impressive. He cannot let Jake Paul get too comfortable. He cannot let Jake Paul win too many rounds. Because we all saw what happened with that Leon Edwards fight. That Leon Edwards fight, he was able to pretty much almost stop Leon Edwards, but he didn't do enough to win that fight. He lost a unanimous decision, but you saw he was in that fight no matter what. He just started way too late. Way too late. So He cannot do that with Jake Paul. Jake Paul does have the power, and Jake Paul does have a little bit of boxing experience in order to really stop Nate Diaz. Where he has that ability to knock out Nate Diaz, even possible. Yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, no." Trust me, he does. You saw with Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's never been dropped, never been knocked down like that at all. Ben Askren, same thing, but he has that power to do so. So it's gonna be a little bit more difficult because I do feel like this is gonna be a tough challenge. Not the toughest challenge of Jake Paul's career, because Jake Paul did fight Tommy Fury, who I feel is a lot more tougher opponent than Nate Diaz, because he has a lot more boxing experience. Anderson Silva, same thing. Well, Anderson Silva has a little bit more experience as well, but he was a lot more older. But still, Nate Diaz is a tough opponent. Nate Diaz has a lot experience when it comes to fighting and when it comes to boxing with other professional boxers. So there's going to be a little bit questions here. It makes you wonder what's going to happen, how's it going to happen, what's Jake Paul going to do? Is he going to be able to handle the pressure of Nate Diaz? Is Nate Diaz going to be able to handle the power shots of Jake Paul? We all got to wait and see, guys. Here we go on Saturday. I cannot wait for this fight. I'm very much looking forward to it. Let me know in the comments what do you think is going to go down in this fight. Let me know what do you think is going to be next for these guys if or when one of these guys do win. Let me know. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.